Hi, this is Davey Faragher, bassist with Elvis Costello and Jack Shit, and you're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com, the place where the old rockers learn to groove. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman, and we've got a great interview this week. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Davey Faragher, we did interview him about 3 years ago, if you can believe it's been that long. Davey is a founding member of the band Cracker back in the 90s. He played in John Hyatt's band for a long time, and he's recorded with everyone from the Monkees to Dusty Springfield and Bonnie Raitt, David Crosby, Ronnie Montrose, Buddy Guy, and a whole bunch of others. If you're a fan of the show The Office, which I never really was, but nonetheless, he appeared in that episode, on that show in an episode called Phyllis's Wedding. He was in the band. I guess it was a made-up band called Scrantonicity.
That's right, yeah. I was also in the band on Step Brothers.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. See?
And I was also in the band on Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield.
Really? That's one of my favorite movies. I watch it when my wife is busy doing something else. And then two other things I want to mention. Since 2001, Davey has been the bass player for Elvis Costello and the Imposters. And he's also currently a member of the band Jack Shit. Can I say that on YouTube?
Yes. I think you can say it on Zoom for sure.
Okay, well, this is going to be on YouTube and all over the world. Hello, Davey. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Can you believe it's been 3 years since we
No,
left?
I can't.
I mentioned David Crosby. I love that story that you told about working with David Crosby. By the way, folks, that the first interview is on the site. Just do a search for Davey, D-A-V-E-Y, Faragher, F-A-R-A-G-H-E-R, right?
That's correct. Yes.
On ForBassPlayersOnly.com, and that interview will pop up, as will this one. And Ronnie Montrose was another name that I just mentioned. I saw him with Edgar Winter.
Oh, wow.
And I believe it was 1975. It was before I could drive. And it was, I think it was on a bill with Spooky Tooth and three guys from Texas nobody had heard of. They were like a brand new hot band, ZZ Top.
Wow.
This was at Cobo Arena in Detroit.
Fantastic.
And the place went nuts. Let's talk about you. You know, I want to get into the current stuff, obviously, but I read something about you. I just want you to confirm. I know you're from a big family, lots and lots of brothers, and at least one sister. There are 8 of you.
Yeah.
And you are, I think, number 6, right?
Yes.
What is the connection to the Brady Bunch theme? Was that your brothers that sang that before they cast?
Yeah, that was my brothers. They that's kind of a funny story. They did the original theme to it, and they had like a psychedelic. What do they call that music in the '60s? It was sort of like almost like bubblegum psychedelic. It was like poppy psychedelic.
I don't usually hear the words bubblegum and psychedelic together, and I certainly don't hear the words
I don't
Brady Bunch and psychedelic together.
There is a genre, though, especially in Japan, they sort of, speak out on it. But they did the original theme. They had a manager at the time, and his wife was feeding them. They were down and out, rock band trying to make it. And she would leave these casseroles for them. And one day they went and they ate this casserole. And then my brother discovered all these empty cat food cans. And she had been feeding them like, cat food, like tuna casserole or something like that,
Oh, wow.
And they went insane and trashed the house, as sort of young rock and rollers would do, and stormed in and, fired the manager and all that stuff. And they got dropped from that that Brady Bunch.
Oh, was she trying to be nice to them, or was
I'm
she?
not sure. I'm not sure. It's a little dark, but
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I
I mean,
did.
tuna is not that expensive.
All right. Wow. I'm glad I asked. That's a great
A
story.
little dark, but
All right. I
that's
mentioned.
I mean that's the legend that I was told, and that's sort of how they ended up not being the Brady Bunch or the
Wow.
theme.
I just thought somebody thought, Sherwood Schwartz or whatever his name was, somebody thought it'd be cute if they had the actual cast singing it. And I assumed that's how it
Yeah,
came.
and that could be
No, no, no. I like your
but it's a
story
good
better.
story.
I'm sticking with your story. I mentioned I wanted to talk about current stuff. I know it was only a few weeks ago you did a really cool concert in Austin,
Oh
Texas.
yes. Uh-huh.
Does Elvis talk very much about the Musician Treatment Foundation? Because I know he's on
Well,
the board.
he had surgery for his the doctor's name. It's slipped my memory. You might know.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
But he performed the surgery on his arm and hand, and made it possible for him to continue playing
I
guitar.
did not
He's
know
having
that. I
trouble.
guess
Yeah,
that's how he got on the board, or how the foundation
yeah.
started.
I think that's how.
Yeah, I think it's a great organization for providing, what is it, surgical and non-surgical care to musicians who are uninsured and underinsured.
And
And
who can't, who's their ability to play is being compromised, or or they're unable to do it because of some kind of problem with their arm or hand or shoulder. Or yeah, it's a good program.
yeah, well, according to their website, they've raised close to $2 million to
Yeah,
that cause, which I think is beautiful. How was the concert? I know
the
Roseanne
concert
Cash was
was
on the
really
bill and a bunch of others.
yeah, it was really fun. It's one of those shows that you're doing the rehearsal running up to it, and you're like, oh my god, are we going to pull this together, because it's like all these different artists, and you don't have that much time, and you know how that goes. You just and then it always does. It sort of magically comes together. And that's what happened. It was great. Yeah.
It's funny. I had a friend that, when stuff like that happens, what are we going to do here? And then what are we going to do about this and that? And he says, look, everything will be fine on Monday morning.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of our mantra ever since. That was like 30 years
Yeah.
ago. I still think about that. Well, what's keeping you busy these days?
Well, what is keeping me busy? Well, we were nominated for another Grammy this year, which is nice.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
The best, what is it? Is best rock performance or something? We're up against like Ozzy Osbourne and Machine Gun Kelly, and I think the Black Keys, and the last time when we won the Grammy, we were up against like Barbara Streisand and Andrew, that's the Italian opera singer.
Oh,
Botticelli, is that his
Andrea.
name? Yeah.
Andrea or Andreas?
Which I guess sort of speaks to the diversity of Elvis's catalog, that we could be up against those kind of artists for a Grammy, and then be up against,
what kind of category would have Elvis Costello and those other people together?
It was best traditional pop performance, which I get, is another way of saying, best vocal performance by elderly people. I don't know. I think it's
oh, that's funny. So this is for the latest recording.
Well, this one is for the rock for rock performance. Yeah, this is an album that we did during the pandemic, which was really fun to do, because I recorded it at home. I did my part at home, drums. Yeah, we did it like Zoom, and it actually was quite fun, because it gave me the opportunity to to screw around and try different things, because a lot of times when we go in to record, and you're trying to capture a band performance, and if Elvis is singing, and it's sort of catch up. He comes in, he already knows the song. He's, and his best performance might be the first take or the second take. And you're just trying not to screw up the bridge, that you hope, at this, at that point. So sometimes you tend to play maybe a little safer, and, you don't get to spend as much time arrangementally, to develop things, and because we don't really rehearse before we go in the studio generally. So a lot of times it's like, it's on the fly and it's quick. And so this gave me the opportunity to be able to kind of craft my parts a little more than I normally do, and screw around with the sound sonically, and so it was fun.
I guess there's something to be said for both ways.
Yes, exactly.
Time to overthink it and you just do it, or sometimes it could be a little too polished and you lose some of that spontaneity.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
sure that didn't happen, but I'm just.
But but that is the pitfall. Sometimes I don't know if I'm judging my own performance and I have the ability to redo it. I don't know when to stop. But one thing I had going for me is that I'm technically not very good at recording and stuff. So a lot of times, rather than trying to edit parts, I would just do the whole thing again. If I didn't like something, I did. So it was more of a performance. It wasn't so much like I took these 4 bars and because I don't have that ability the patience.
I have heard stories of some very high profile bands that I won't even mention that would punch in like one note,
Yes.
There's some stuff that is on some classic albums that, wow, how did they get away with that? Well, that's just in the moment, and you couldn't recapture that energy. So if there's a little fluff here or there, the overall sound is still good. So, and
a lot of times with because I'm old enough to remember those kind of recordings, if the leakage, you make a mistake on the bass and you try to punch it in, sometimes it's worse than, because you hear the other note still, and it just, sometimes it's better just to live with it. Some of my favorite records have moments like that.
Oh yeah, a lot of jazz records too. Miles Davis's bands, and
Sure.
But they say, how do you, if you make a mistake, what do? You play it again and again and again. So that way people think you did it on purpose. Right?
Yeah, do it louder.
Yeah. Well, I was going to segue into my next question. I'm not sure I set the proper tone for that, but For Bass Players Only is a bass instruction site. And,
yes.
And I've got people from all over the world coming to For Bass Players Only every day to learn how to play bass. And you heard my reference to old rockers. That I think most of the people would identify as old rockers that come to us. I don't know if some might be put out by that, but anyway, it's typically men in their 50s, 60s, 70s that just want to play the bass. They're not looking to set the world on fire. They're not looking to go around the world with Elvis Costello or anybody else. They just want to get together with their friends, play some classic rock riffs, some blues shuffles, maybe bass and, funk R&B, whatever it is that they're into. And some of the things that come with, turning 50, 60, 70 and beyond are things like arthritis and tendinitis and recovering from surgery and back pain and shoulder and, all those kinds of things. I say all that just to paint a picture for you, because I want to ask you, with that in mind, in that context, what advice do you have for somebody like that who wants to learn to play the bass? What do you think is important for them to know or to do?
Well, I mean, number one, practice. you have to, you have to put the time into it, and staying physically fit as you can, because it is physical. I actually am in that category of, because during the pandemic, I never played upright, and I've had an upright for years, and but then I've been going on the road, and I just never, it was too high a mountain to climb. I'd never felt like I had the time to put in for it. And the pandemic came, and my son, who's is going to USC, is a music major. He just looked at me and said, "You should practice the upright." And my first reaction was like, "Oh, And then I was like, "Well, yeah, maybe you're right." And so that became my pandemic project, learning the upright, and I practice hours every day, and now it's actually incorporated into what I do. I bring an upright now on the road with Elvis, and I'm not Christian McBride, and never will be that, but I'm proficient enough to do certain things, and I enjoy it, and it sounds good, and and it was just a really good lesson for me in that, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can learn new skills, because that's a completely different instrument. It's the same notes, but, and it's very physically challenging, but, you can do it. You can do it just a little bit at a time, however much time you can devote to it. Doing it consistently is more important than, doing 6 hours on Saturday and then not doing anything. If you do 15 minutes a day, that's going to be better, just depending on how much time you have to put in.
Did you ever have some basic instruction on the upright, or the electric for that matter? But I mean,
well, on the electric, I took about 5 lessons with Chuck Rainey when I was like 17, which was life-changing.
Yeah.
And then I had like a sight reading teacher for a couple years who really taught me a lot. He was a session trumpet player, and
in LA, in LA, California.
Yeah, an older guy. I don't know how hot of a session player he was, but but he was in the biz for years, and he had like he had a big band, and but he taught me so much, just about attitude of how you play the notes, and that was in the context of learning to read. But he would, I would do, he'd have me play the Louis Belson book, read through it. And he had this thing called, he was an Italian guy, and he had, what did he get? It was like the Italian Father or something like that. And he'd you'd look at the 8th notes and he'd be like, ba, 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 like you were being scolded, by an Italian grandfather or something like that. And I, to this day, I use that. I mean, it's funny because it's just so rock and roll, and so much of the attitude of rock and roll is how you hit the notes, and where you land, and the value of the note, giving it the full value of the note. And that was really, really helpful for me. But and when I was younger, I bought the upright bass I'm ashamed to say, like in 1976. And I did take a few lessons, but I didn't stick, I was busy trying to be in a rock band, and, and we were actually making records and stuff. And I just let it go. And then that was that.
I've got to ask you, I've gotten to know Chuck Rainey pretty well over the years. In fact, there's a video I've got of him. We were in Germany, and we were at breakfast. We were at Warwick base camp in Markneukirchen, Germany, which I've never said the same way once. Yeah. And we're at breakfast, and he's giving me a shoulder rub, and I'm going, "Oh, Chuck, yeah, oh yeah, right there." What I want to ask you though is, tell me something you learned from Chuck Rainey that you still apply today.
Oh my God. Well, I just tried to, he had that. I don't know if he still plays that way. He played with one finger, and he would do the upstroke on the one finger, and he
Wow.
would almost like a pick. And I couldn't get that. I'm left-handed, and my right hand just didn't, I but it gave that feel of that. It had this, it always sounded like he was playing more than he actually was. A lot of, it had this sort of ghosty kind of syncopation in there. And I tried to emulate that with a two finger technique, and it's sort of, it's kind of a dynamic thing that kind of swing. It's just another sort of way of swinging.
Wow.
And
Interesting. You play like a righty though, right?
I do play I'm right-handed. I play right-handed. Yeah.
Because I just found out a few years ago, I've known John Patitucci for like 30 years, 35 years. I never knew he was left-handed.
But he plays right-handed,
He
right?
plays righty.
Yeah, that's like me.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I played like him, but
Jimmy Haslip, on the other hand, though,
he plays upside down. Does he play upside down, or does
he
he have
does. He plays upside down, and that is hard enough for me to get my head around. But he doesn't retune the bass. He'll take a righty bass and play it upside down.
Yeah.
But slapping and popping, it's so counterintuitive. I don't know how he does
that guy what's his name? Mono Neon?
Yeah, Mono Neon.
Doesn't he I've seen a few videos of him, and I was looking at, it's like, is he playing upside down?
That is a very interesting story. I can't confirm this, but I think I read somewhere that he's actually right-handed, but he thought there was some advantage to taking a righty bass and playing it upside down like a lefty.
He does do that.
I have heard and read or seen or something.
Yeah.
He does. I cannot confirm that firsthand. I think I tried reaching out to him in the past. I'll have to see if I can come a little closer to him. I'd like to. I think.
Yeah, I like his play. What I've seen, I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's anything else from Chuck? Because that sounded like it didn't sound like a meat and potatoes kind of bass technique thing that you described. Is there anything as far as bass concepts?
Well, so much of it is just the attitude. I learned so much of just trying to, watching him play and trying to emulate that. And there's certain exercises that I still do to this day. He used to do this thing where he would, you have the root on the middle finger, and then you go from the fifth to the sixth, like, do you, and then you go from the octave to the ninth, do you, like a little slide thing.
Yeah.
And I do that to this day, and I use that as an exercise. And just
that reminds me of Marcus Miller on Grover Washington's on Just the Two of Us with Bill Withers.
Yes, that's exactly. Oh, is that Marcus?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great part. That's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chuck was the king of that in the 70s.
And of course, the Jeffersons TV show, that tritone.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Sanford and Son?
No. Well, he played
Jeffersons too. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, the Jeffersons. Moving on up.
Oh,
East. What is that? A deluxe apartment in the sky, and he goes.
Yeah.
Tritone up a half step. And
right. That's right.
What was that? Along with everybody.
Yeah, I love those double stops that he would do.
Absolutely. Well, so what about the future? What else is coming up? You've accomplished a lot. You've been with Elvis for a long time. You've been with all that. You're playing with Jack Shit. Oh, I said
playing
it
with Jack Shit. That's the longest musical experience I've ever had. We've been together over 20 years.
Wow.
I've been with Elvis over 20 years now. So Jack Shit was a couple of years before that. So yeah.
Was Bruce Thomas your immediate predecessor?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as like in a band setting, Elvis I think, you know, he did lots of records with different people, but as far as like an ongoing band setting, I think so. Yeah.
Because I interviewed him many years ago, and that interview got a very strong response.
A fantastic player.
Is everything cool between him and Elvis? I don't know what, you know.
I don't, you know, I don't think they get along.
Okay. Because I've done a lot of interviews I interviewed Michael Anthony from Van Halen. I interviewed Steve Boone from the Levin Spoonful. I know Stu Cook pretty well from Creedence, and, you know, and the guys from Styx. Whoa, you know, so there's all kinds of conflict, and in a few cases some bad blood here and there. So I knew I was taking a chance with that question, but I have no idea. So that's why I threw
it seems to be unreconcilable. It does not seem warm and fuzzy.
Well, that's good job security for you, in one way of looking at it. But anything else that you maybe have always wanted to do that you just never got around to, or anything else that you haven't mentioned that's coming up?
Well, the upright really is my thing right now, just to get better and better at that and incorporate it. And, you know, and it just kind of reawakened, you know, I've been going through a lot of, who's the bass player on Almost Blue? Not Almost Blue, the Miles classic.
Kind of Blue? Paul Chambers.
Paul Chambers. I've been, you know, going through a lot of those kind of books, transcriptions of that era of jazz, you know, because it's either that or classical or whatever. It's, you know, it's a good, and it's kind of practicing on the upright is kind of opening my ear in a different way than, you know, you get older, and it's easy to get set in your ways, you know, and sort of like, and you practice the same things over and over, and, you know, and this is kind of just, you know, opening up a whole new world for me, sonically somehow, you know, just because it's different material, and and I just want to continue on that. I mean, I don't really want to be a jazzer. It's not really my thing, but I do love it, and it does change. You know, I notice it's changing my electric playing by you know, just pounding away on those Paul Chambers transcriptions.
Ron Carter's got some transcriptions, and boy, there's Ray Brown, and
yeah, I've got some of the Ray Brown stuff, and yeah, I'll have to check out Ron Carter because I love.
My favorite all-time upright player, Niels Henning Ørsted Pedersen. I saw him with Oscar and with Joe Pass. About a month after I started taking bass lessons. I still haven't recovered. It was in a little club, not so little. It was a club in Dearborn, Michigan, in the Hyatt Regency, way back.
Wow.
But it sounds like what you're saying now is also good advice for the people that are learning bass, to not be so, yeah, you're an old rocker, so you love Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and the Stones and all that, but listen to something a little different once in a while. It'll open up some new possibilities that you can ultimately incorporate back into your playing.
Yeah, it just gives you another you know, another angle on it.
Yeah, another perspective. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
A chef.
I asked you that 3 years ago, and I didn't want to tell you. You gave me the same answer. Anything in particular you like to make?
I can make anything. I'm probably I'm as good a cook as I am a bass player.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm coming to your house.
Yeah.
You know,
and I've just been doing it for 50 years. So, you know, and I've loved it for 50 years. So I collect cookbooks, and I, you know, just, yeah, it's just another creative thing for me.
My wife and I came downstairs about 3 mornings ago and discovered that our microwave is completely dead.
Uh-huh.
Nobody can even come out to look at it for another week or so, and it's it just makes you think. I've been heating up dinner in the oven, for
Yeah.
20 minutes. Who's got 20 minutes?
I don't even have a microwave.
Yeah, good for you. Hey, there was another question I wanted to ask you. What are your brothers doing and your sister? Are they still active? Is they?
Yeah, actually, we did some gigs this last year, because we did like 4 records in the 70s, sort of blue-eyed soul kind of music, and we actually got together and have done some gigs, and we've got another one coming up in January. It's quite fun because my son, it's multi-generational. My son's playing drums, my brother's daughter's playing sax and singing, and then there's how many of us? Four brothers and a sister singing. So it's and then we augment it with a sax player, another sax player, and a guitarist.
So you only have one sister, and
I have 2 sisters.
Oh, you have 2 sisters. Okay, and the rest are all brothers.
Yeah.
So what do you have? 5? Is that 5? 5 brothers?
5 brothers and 2 sisters. Yeah.
My, where did the girls fall in order? I'm just curious.
I have a younger sister. She's the 7th born, and an older sister who is the 4th born.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a great story about the house, and there were there was a naval base nearby, I think, and your brothers were hippies. You said it was a great interview. I read that just this morning again, so it made me smile. Well, Dave, this is great. I really have a great time talking to you. Last time I think was a phone interview, so now
I actually got to see you.
We're high-tech technology with Zoom. And good luck with everything and all your future endeavors. Say hey to Elvis. I'm sorry I missed the concert. We couldn't make it. But it was at Austin City Limits. I forgot to mention that. So,
and where are you located?
I'm in Michigan.
You're in Michigan. Okay. Well, you'll have to come see us if we play. Could you come to Detroit? Is that?
Yeah, I was in the Detroit area for many years, and now we live in mid-Michigan to be closer to the kids and the grandkids.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm an old rocker myself.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So let's catch up. I don't think we've ever actually met in person, so I look forward.
No, but if you see we're playing it's somewhere that's striking distance, let me know and I'll set you up.
It's a date. Thanks very much. You are watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com, the place where all the old rockers come to groove. Thanks so much to our special guest, Davey Faragher. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman of ForBassPlayersOnly.com. We'll see you all next week. In the meantime, let's play bass.